Hello everyone. As you saw in the video we posted recently, we went to the Lisbon Orchid Show of one of our national orchid societies, after being away from the shows for the whole year. If you didn't see the video, go check it out. It's not our usual quality because we still don't have a decent camera for filming since ours broke. But I still think the video is fun to watch. A big part of the orchid shows, at least around here, is all the orchid vendors and getting some new orchids, especially those that aren't as readily available. We probably shouldn't have gotten anything since we'll be moving soon and we'll be too busy for the next few months to baby any new orchids. And also, we'll most likely have less space in the new house. But an orchid show is not really an orchid show without a little orchid shopping. So I got a few things. I tried to not pick anything too different from what we already grow, because that would be too overwhelming, but I'm not really sure I succeeded. Before we go in depth about these orchids, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give us a like if you end up enjoying the video. And if you want to help out with replacing our camera, we now have a SuperThanks option available for tips. First up, we picked this Dendrobium wassellii, and I had never heard of it until a quick Google search on the spot reminded me that these orchids used to be called Dockrillia. I love the growths that are very succulent-like. The orchid's not too big, and the flowers looked really nice, so we had to get it. We got it from a new seller around here called Flora Henriques. I think they are based here in Portugal, but they themselves are Brazilian. So they had a lot of Brazilian species and seemed really knowledgeable about orchids. I think they're brand new, but if they end up opening a physical store, it would be fun at some point making the road trip to visit them. As you can see, the plant is showing some signs of dehydration. The succulent leaves are showing some wrinkles, and looking at the substrate, they were growing it in large bark with some type of grit. So really airy and draining. It's now a week later when I'm repotting this, and the growths are looking a little plumper after some diligent watering. I don't think the plant is very rooted in the substrate, so this should be easy. And it's actually two plants. Did they tell me at the time that these were propagations? Oh look, it's about to flower. I sat down to repot these real quick, so I didn't even notice. If I knew, I probably wouldn't have repotted them now. Well, it's too late to back out. In terms of care guides, this plant is one of those that I always find confusing, because most websites mention it needing very well draining media, but then they say that it can't dry out in between waterings, so am I supposed to water it every other day? I have encountered culture guides like this before, and usually what I end up doing is using pretty chunky bark combined with chopped sphagnum, or instead of that, fine bark with no sphagnum at all. I also have to pick a pot size and type for this. I have here some taller pots, some shallow bowls, and I even thought about the self-watering ones I got for the oncidiums, because I think it might help this one not dry out as much. Well, there's no way that this fits in the self-watering pot. And the other one is just too tall. I could do this shorter pot or the bowl. In the bowl it would have a lot more room to grow, so I think I'm going with a bowl. And maybe I'm going to put a wick in it so I can do the self-watering thing if I want to. I use these DIY bowls with a wick on my bulbophyllums a lot. And I usually make the wick go around and up the pot, making sure it's making the substrate very evenly moist. For this one, I think the bark and sphagnum combo will go over better. Just the bark, as it came from the nursery, it's obvious that doesn't work for my environment. However, the place we're moving to is more humid, so I'm gonna have to be careful with the sphagnum. And here it is. I think it looks really nice. I'll keep an eye on it to make sure it does well with the setup and change it to fine bark if I think it's starting to look bad. And I just noticed that I accidentally broke the flower spike. Damn it. Next we have a couple of plants I got from the Green Corner, a Spanish seller that has the most amazing selection of plants. He has most of them in mounts, and when you see the catalog, there's a lot of bulbophyllums, terrarium species, but he also brings phals, small vandas, small cattleya hybrids, so there's something for everyone. And the plants we got from him last year are all alive and thriving, even though they came mounted and kept in terrariums, and then I potted them up and proceeded to spend most of the year away and neglecting their care. We went this year eyeing their bulbophyllums, but the ones we wanted were either sold out or mounted seedlings that I don't think would have been a good idea to get right before a move. I say this, and then the first orchid I get is our first leafless orchid. I did just spray this mount so the roots are all nice and green. I have toyed with the idea of getting one of these for a while now. People say they're not as hard to grow as they seem, and the Green Corner had this red one I wanted. And it was for sale at a really good price, so I just jumped at the opportunity. So yeah, I went from not wanting anything too overwhelming to buying a brand new species and an orchid that has to be mounted. Not my brightest moment. In my defense, I thought I have other mounted orchids, how different can it be? And it was only after getting home and starting to research these plants that I read that they don't like moss, like I use for most of my mounts. And several guides also mentioned that they prefer smooth mounts, so I will probably have to keep it in a wood slab just like this. And that means very high humidity and daily mistings. The thing is, right now we are splitting our time between the two houses, there's construction going on, and my mounts go days without water, so not sure how I'm gonna pull that off. I read that some people also use tree fern mounts, and that might help keep some more moisture on the roots, so I have to look more into that option. Or maybe I'll look into something like APO, since it's inorganic but also stays wet for longer. We also have considered the idea of a terrarium at some point, so maybe we'll make that happen for this plant. But for now, this is staying where it is to remind me of my poor life choices. If you have any experience at all with this orchid and with mounting it into alternative materials, please let us know. I know that Hillbilly Orchids here on YouTube has some, and I really need to rewatch her videos. Also from the green corner, we spotted a Ceratostylis, and the completionist in me just thought, I like the one I have, why not another one? So I just grabbed it, and the flowers are really pretty, and they come from the bottom of the leaves, just like our Ceratostylis rubra. I'm also a sucker for these cylindrical leaves, as you could tell from our orchids we grow for the leaves video. From what we can tell, the care is pretty much identical to our other one, so we'll probably just pot it in fine bark and sphagnum. I think this one is in sphagnum covered with some fine grit, but we'll know better when we get into the pot. Well, the pot is filled with just compacted sphagnum, and I'm having a very hard time separating it from the roots if this plant even has any left. I really don't like that some of these growths are turning black. I think I'm going to cut them off. These are two separate plants. And this one is two different ones as well. I also separated these two because I'm not sure this piece is going to make it. I'm going to be using mostly sphagnum with some small bark in the middle, just like I have my other Ceratostylis. I really don't blame the seller for this. We inspected the plant as well and it looked fine, but I am sad, I'm not sure this one is going to pull through. I'm gonna have to stake these three plantlets because they don't have many roots and I don't want to bury them too deep because of the rot signs they're starting to show. Hopefully the next time you see this one won't be in the in memoriam video we make every year. Now we go into some Rupiculus Laelias. The first one comes from AfriOrchids, who brought a lot of really beautiful, hard to find plants, especially cattleyas and Henriques. It's the second year they actually bring a Dendrobium trontuani that I really want, and then I talked myself out of it because some stores in Europe usually have it cheaper. This one, not being cheap either, is not a plant we see for sale very often, so I just bit the bullet and got it. I really love all the Rupiculus Laelias. They grow for us as well as any other cattleya, and they usually have huge flowers compared to how tiny the plants are. This is not even the smallest we got today, but I just had to have the pink and yellow flowers. The plant is looking really good. The back bulbs are yellowing a little bit, but the front ones are looking great, and we have a new growth coming. In good time too, because I don't think any of these roots are alive. But that's just what happens when you get bare root plants that were shipped from the other side of the globe. Like it always happens when we buy Rubiculus Laelias, even though the ones we have are growing in bark and sphagnum and doing great. After reading the online guides, I always convince myself that I should be growing these in stones or grit or pumice. I know it would be better to grow them in inorganic, and we are moving to a place where they won't need the sphagnum as much. So I am actually considering trying something like that for these. The only stuff I have at hand is leca, and I think that's too big. I also have the vermiculite, but I'm afraid of how it would alter the pH. The guys from the Green Corner had Ceramus for sale, and I almost got it. I think I'm going to see what we can find at our garden center, and if we find nothing, we'll make do with what we have. And then we also got what I'm pretty sure is the tiniest of the Rubiculus Laelias. I couldn't believe when I saw it on the stand of a Brazilian nursery called AfriOrchids. I don't think I'd ever seen it for sale. It came in this really cute ceramic mount, but of course we're gonna have to pot it up. Hopefully we have a small enough pot, because I read that these do not like to be overpotted. This one I think came with some healthy roots, but we'll see better when we unmount it. Unfortunately, this new growth here seems to have dried out, but again, it's what happens when plants come here from across the globe in a bag. All things considered, these actually look good overall. I hope you can see on camera just how tiny this cattleya is. Just look at it next to my thumb. I'm just so in love with this plant. Another thing I wasn't expecting after getting home and researching these plants further is that these two Laelias actually like cooler temperatures. I don't remember if guides for our other ones say the same thing and we've just been ignoring it. But either way, we're moving somewhere that's a bit cooler, so I think they're gonna be happy. Another thing that's a bit confusing is the photo that came with the plant shows an almost white flower, but all the pictures online are different shades of pink and purple. But the tag also doesn't mention this being an alba variety, so I guess I have to wait until it flowers. This first one has grown the new growths a lot since we got it, so it's a great time to repot. I'm pretty sure that most of these roots aren't good. And I did find some pumice for sale at our local garden center, so I think I'm gonna finally try it with these Rubiculus Laelias. I saw someone online suggest pumice, perlite, and fine bark, but I don't think I can resist just adding some pieces of sphagnum too. And I just separated a back bulb by accident. This one doesn't have any good roots, poor tiny thing. But the new growth that I thought was dried up is developing, and I can see new roots popping out. I guess I really picked the exact right time to repot these two. I have here the pumice. I hope that's how you say that actually. Pumice? Pumice? Oh well. I have here the pumice and very fine bark, so I think I'm going to skip the perlite. I have also some tiny pieces of sphagnum that I might add as well. These two are the smallest pots I have, so they're going to have to work. And there we are, with a little bit of sphagnum just for my peace of mind. I do have one thing to say from the pumice though. The plant is so stable in the pot. I actually like it. For this one, I know I should stake it, but I don't have any small skewers. So I'm going to try and repot it like this and stake it later. This is so weird. No need to put the plant in the pot while you fill it, because no roots. Okay, but even with no roots, this is relatively stable. And there we are, all plants repotted and ready to try and survive my haphazard care in the next few months. Speaking of our house move, I also wanted to ask you if any of you here in Europe has experience using reverse osmosis filters. Let us know how it's been for you, because we're still going to test the water to be sure, but I'm pretty certain the new house has hard water. So that's another thing to research on top of filling boxes and buying furniture. I hope you enjoyed getting to know our new plants. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and we'll see you again next week. Goodbye.